a big welcome back to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Ben, how are you doing this evening?
I'm very good, thanks, guys. How are you?
All the better for seeing you, my man, as we say around these parts.
Well, good to see you again, yeah.
Yeah, we've been trying to get this date pinned down for a few weeks now, isn't it? It's kind of just flew past us a couple of times for one reason or another, but here we are. It's a update, so to speak. By the way, listeners, tune in to season 11, episode 9, I believe, for the full lowdown on Ben, who joined us at that point, just coming out of the jungle, so to speak, just to remind yourselves of that particular one. So you can get Ben's backstory. We did touch on your backstory at that point, didn't we, Ben? We did. John's given me a affirmative nod, as if to say, get on with it, Stephen. So we are here to speak about a few things, but one thing in particular, Ben, which is something that you completed quite recently. What is it, end of April?
Yeah, it's 5 weeks ago. Yeah.
5 weeks ago, which was the Highland Ultra from Beyond the Ultimate, who were the same race organisers who did the Round the World series. But it was on our homeland, on home soil for us, Ben. And before we even get started, I want to congratulate you on your win at that particular event, because you took the top spot on the podium. Well done.
Thank you.
What brought you to these shores, so to speak, to God's country? What was the attraction for Ben participating in the Highland Ultra, which was based up at Knoydart? More on that later.
Indeed, yeah. So I think there are a few reasons for this one. First and foremost, I've been on quite a few international runs with Beyond the Ultimate. So the others were a bit further afield. So I started in the Arctic Circle, and then the Namib Deserts, Tian Shan Mountains, and finally the jungle last year. So being a bit closer to home was quite nice. I'd heard loads of good things about this particular event in this part of the world. So my main criteria for any run is ideally have no internet, try and make it remote and over a period of a few days, just to get away from civilization. So it ticked all of those boxes, and yeah, it was again a little bit closer to home, so a bit easier to get to as well.
So tell us where the route was, where about in Scotland it took place.
Well, you guys might know this better than me. I've never been to the Knoydart Peninsula before, so it's out near the Outer Hebrides. It's in a little place called Inverary. So that is, I think it's only you can only get there by ferry. So you get the ferry over to a little place called Mallaig, I believe, and from there it's all mountains and coastline, and there's a village, I think, of 100 people, and everything else is just nature. So yeah, it's right out there in, I think it's probably the most wild place in the UK, and it's a bit of a hidden gem.
And what was your... Oh, sorry, John.
No, I was just going to say, I think I'm not a Munro bagger as such, but a lot of people who do the Munros, a lot of them leave the Knoydart ones to last because it is so remote and it's quite difficult to get there, you know. And I think it's a big challenge. And you mentioned Mallaig. I'm going to go off on a tangent already. Stephen, Angus Og. Remember Angus Og? It was like Ur Willie. It was like a cartoon character in a newspaper. I'm sure Angus Og came from Mallaig. I'll research that. Let's not waste time. This is what happens. This is what happens, man. The brain is gone.
I know Mallaig's like the end of the train line. I'm pretty sure that it goes up like Glenfinnan way, which is like Harry Potter. Do you know the viaduct from Harry Potter? Yeah. That's where I know Mallaig. End of the line. Beyond that, well, I don't know, because I've never been. There we go. Bething up right away, Ben.
You are dead right. So I went past the Harry Potter viaduct on the way, and the drive is spectacular, I have to say. The whole section up there, amazing.
Yeah, and what? So did you get the ferry from Mallaig?
Yes.
Yeah, over to the Knoydart Peninsula.
That's right. Yeah.
And you said that like you'd never set foot on the vales or the hills around that area. What was your first impressions of the place?
I was completely smitten. Yeah, it was. I mean, I've been to lots of exotic places, and right up there, like genuinely one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It reminded me a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of Pembrokeshire with the coastal paths and the kind of rugged part of that, and a lot like the Tian Shan Mountains in Kyrgyzstan. So kind of big rugged mountains and just like these big pristine lakes out there. It was everything I hoped for and more.
And the race was it Inverie, you said?
That's where it starts. So it
Okay.
starts and ends in Inverie, which again, I think there's 110 people that now live there. And the rest of it is out there. So we were camping in a couple of spots, but yeah, very remote, and didn't really see anybody for the whole time, actually. So as soon as we were out of the village, it was mountains, forests, lots of bogs and mud, a bit of coastline. Yeah, so it's quite varied, but really, really stunning.
And tell us about the format of the race. You said that it was multi-day.
It was, yeah. So it's similar to other events I've done in the past, which is multi-day, self-supported. So this one is a bit shorter than the other races that I've done in the past. It's 3 days in total, 125 kilometers. And yeah, you have to carry your stuff for the 3 days. So I think my pack was a bit lighter than most, but looking at 7 or an 8 kilo pack on top of that as well.
And I'm looking here at the event website, and it says daytime temperatures 5 to 25 degrees centigrade, John. It's mere chance of it being 5 than 25 at the end of April, start of May in Knoydart, I'm imagining. How was the weather?
Had everything, yeah. So I think it did literally range from 5 degrees to almost 30. I would say it was really, really warm at some point. But yeah, it was really varied. So we had rain, we had pretty cold nights at times, and yeah, a lot of sun. So I didn't train for heat, but there was definitely a lot of that. So yeah, I got sunburnt, I got rained on. It brought all of the Scottish Highlands weather.
Was there midges?
Oh, so many, yeah.
Yeah,
that was
the rain keeps them down, obviously, but when it's blue sky and when it's warm.
Yeah.
That's early midgie season, Ben. They're not really got their teeth yet.
That's what I hear. So it was probably the last day where there were quite a lot of them. But I hear in the summer it's I mean, to be honest, it's the type of place that I'd move out there. I mean, it's so stunning, but the midgies might be a deal breaker.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got all the fancy stuff like smidge and midgie nets. They're all geared. The midgies are geared up for all that.
Exactly.
They're geared up for
warfare.
Yeah. Knoydart itself, as I said, is very, very remote. But from what you described, it sounds like a mix of all the other Beyond the Ultimate things that you've done. So each one's a different event in a different place, different continents, with different challenges. What was the most challenging part of this race for you, Ben?
Yeah, so it was surprisingly similar, the terrain. It was because you think Scotland is, but it was really, really hard mountain stuff. I think the hardest bits for me were the bits where I screwed up. So I was as prepared as I could be on the terrain, but day one I didn't really think. So it was quite warm. It was very warm, and I didn't hydrate properly. And Yeah, probably with 20 kilometers to go, I got very dehydrated and got dizzy, had cramps, all that stuff. So it was quite a long 20 kilometers. And yeah, I'll be honest, I was really struggling for most of that day. So it was mostly my own fault for not doing my admin. But yeah, day one, I almost dropped out, to be honest.
Wow. Can you remind us of the breakup? It's 78 miles overall, isn't it?
Yeah, so
78.
I do kilometers, which is terrible. I know we're in the UK, so I should really do miles. But the first day I think was 28 miles, 29 miles maybe. And I think the total ascent was probably about 2,000 meters, I'm going to say. So reasonably up and down the whole time.
Mhm.
And the second day was a little bit shorter. I think it was more like 30 kilometers. So about, my maths is terrible on miles. You might have to help me on that one. I'll call it 30k.
18 and a half miles.
There we go. Yeah, so it seemed quite short. In fact, I think it was a half marathon distance actually, but that was about 2,500 meters. So it was a lot punchier than it sounds. And
Right.
then again, roughly 30k on the last day. So total was 125. Yeah, and I would say day two was definitely the hardest day on paper.
Wait, on day 3, did they hear you just running around a track? You seem to do it pretty fast.
Well, I felt pretty good on day 3, unlike day 1. But no, it was basically up a mountain pass. So you
Okay.
pretty much go up a mountain and straight back down it again. So the first section was up and down, and then there's a long stretch up the mountain, and the rest of it was all downhill. So the final third, I'd say, was pretty quick actually. Yeah, it was a load of fun. It was very, very wet and boggy, but it was pretty runnable as well. So yeah, a pretty fast stretch on the way back.
Can we go back to the stuff that nearly put you out of the race on day one? Dehydration. Talk us through what went wrong, when it went wrong, when you realised that it went wrong.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a well-trodden path, really. So I was drinking, and I was taking on electrolytes as well. But I was probably drinking as much as I should when it's not really hot. So it was, I think, a slow build up over the first half of the day. And that was pretty much all, I wouldn't say flat, but undulating. And we kept up a pretty good pace. It was myself and he's a 100k runner, likes to do flatter sections. So he was very quick on the flat. And I was trying to keep up with him, basically, a guy called Carlos. Sorry, he's into 100-mile runs, not 100Ks. And yeah, I think the first half I felt fine. And then because I hadn't taken, probably the first 3 hours, I was at least 500 mils off every hour, and that accumulated. So unfortunately, it went from me feeling fine to being like I was going to die pretty quickly. So it was, I think, the usual stuff you get when you're pretty dehydrated. So I felt incredibly dizzy, really weak. I couldn't eat anything at that stage, struggling to keep down fluids, and I had cramps in both my legs. So at one point, I literally couldn't run anymore, and I was lucky that was an uphill section, so I was able to march that for probably about an hour. But yeah, it was pretty tough to handle, and I think the need to almost vomit every couple of minutes was definitely putting me off the run.
So, what did you do back in camp in preparation for day 2? Well, first of all, to stay in the race. And the temptation's there to think, nah, I've made an arse of this. What did you do as your admin to get you back on course or prepare as best you could for day 2? What was the night of day 1 like?
Yeah, when I got back to camp, first of all, I think that the reason I didn't drop out is that I managed to keep in touch with the person who was first, and I just kept it in my mind that if I stayed with Carlos in sight, then I'd still have a chance of being reasonably competitive for the rest of the race. And then actually he started struggling, and from memory, I think I actually finished ahead of him in the end somehow. So it was a really close, very, very slow race at that point where we were both basically dying. But I knew when I got into camp that I had to cover quickly. I think the advantage of these events is you do have time in camp. So I don't remember the time from the first day. I think it might have been about 7 hours, something like that. So
39.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Yeah, 6:39.
4 minutes. 4 minutes quicker than Carlos.
Which I'm quite proud of, because that involved a lot of pain, and there were quite a few moments where basically not moving anymore. So it was, again, a very, very slow kind of turtle race in the end for us to drag ourselves over. But I had a good 8 or 9 hours in camp to cover. I drank a lot of fluids, a lot of electrolytes, a lot of resting, a lot of stretching, and I think my body's used to doing back-to-back runs anyway. So I knew what I'd needed to do to recover, and I think I was lucky that there was quite a lot of time in camp to catch up.
What's your start time on day 2? What time does it start?
I think it was 8 a.m. It might have been 7:30. Yeah.
And does everybody go off at the same time? Or do you get to go off first and then people go off? No, everybody's off at the same time. Okay.
In this particular event, everyone goes at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. How does Knoydart compare to the other ones with regards to day 2? Because day 1, you're sort of finding your feet. About the other people. Sorry, I've got so many questions, Ben. The other people on the course as well. So you're finding your feet day 1. You're sussing out who's Carlos, sussing out what he's all about. Was there other people that you were thinking about might be, because I'm assuming you went to win this thing. That was your intention at the start. Was there other people that you were wary of who might be challenging you?
Definitely. Yeah, there were probably 2 or 3 other very quick runners. And it was all, from memory, it was quite even the first day. So there must have been in the top 4 and maybe 20 minutes in it. Can't be much more than that. So it definitely felt like there was some strong competition. And day 2, I mean, first of all, it was one of the hardest days I've had, I would say. And in terms of the course, it was right up there. So some of the stages, I think, in the Jungle Ultra, there's one particularly really hard stage, and it reminded me a lot of that. So it was everything you can imagine. Again, I would liken it to the Amazon jungle crossed with the Tian Shan Mountains. So it was very much a lot of really steep ups, a lot of technical terrain on the trails, loads of mud, loads of bogs. And yeah, it was horrible, to be honest. So it was a lot of unrunnable sections, and absolutely beautiful at the same time. So it was one of the most amazing places I've been to, and one of the toughest.
We do say Scotland's got it all, man. They've got it all. So, yeah. Were you aware of other people, competitive runners, before you even started this event? Or was it people you were finding out about at the event? Were you aware other people had signed up? Did you know anybody prior to it starting?
Well, I think there's a really strong community with the Beyond the Ultimate events. So I've been quite lucky to meet lots of really nice people over the years. And first of all, the organisers, the medics, I know quite a lot of them. Some of the medics actually that help out in these events were doing the event this year. So that was quite fun. So they've helped crew before and they were running. There were a few runners that I know from just doing different events beforehand. And also, my girlfriend came along with me, so I obviously know her quite well. And it was her first ultramarathon.
Okay. More on that. That's a different dynamic altogether, isn't it? So Let's remind ourselves, so people who maybe haven't listened to season 11, episode 9, has Ben Harrison got a coach?
I do have a coach. I didn't have a coach for a very long time. For the Jungle Ultra, I did, and that was the first time I've ever had one. So his name's John Shields. I think he was on the news quite a bit recently because I think he was the first person to win all of the global race series events with Beyond the Ultimate, which is an incredible thing to do. And yeah, he's a very good coach, and he's a friend of mine as well. So he also coached me for the Highlands.
Becky, she got a coach, or is that Ben?
Well, she doesn't really listen to me. I did try and kind of pseudo coach her. She's just got a coach after the event because I think she's got a taste for it now, and she did pretty well in the event, but I think she sees a bit of potential there. So she now has a proper coach rather than me trying to tell her what to do.
Okay. How coach's corner here? Sorry, I'm not a coach, but we'll speak about coaches. How big a part does John Shields play in your victory?
Pretty big part, I would say. I think I'm really lazy with training. I don't like training. I like nature. I like adventure, and when I'm there, I'm very competitive. But yeah, I think to be accountable to someone, I think is really important for me, and also yeah, tailoring the training to the actual event, making sure that I'm focused in on the right things. So I guess it's a personal thing. If you'd asked me, has it made a difference? Yeah, it's made a huge difference.
And just on the training for this particular event and how that maybe differed from previous international trips, remind us of where you reside.
Yeah, so I'm from Wales originally, but I live
Mm-hmm.
in London, so it
Yes.
is not the perfect training for the type of thing that I do.
Yeah, so laps of Hyde Park, etc., aren't quite going to cut it. With that in mind, how did you replicate, especially the vert, because they're a steep set of mountains,
Yeah.
and probably you're probably up to the Lake District before you hit something that is of similar, unless you go back home to Wales, obviously, which has got some pretty similar terrain as well. But it's particularly, well, it's seen as particularly challenging in UK terms, that far north and rugged. And you said it yourself, it wasn't really like anything else in the UK. It's quite unique. How did the question that I'm getting at, Ben, is how did John manage specificity?
Yes, indeed. Well, I think with difficulty, it is tricky to get the exact conditions. We did a lot of back-to-back training runs in more mountainous places. So I actually did a training camp with John in Snowdonia. So that was two back-to-back runs with packs. I think we climbed Snowdon 3 times that day, which was horrible. And yeah, to your point, get back to Wales as well. So I went to Pembrokeshire a couple of times to do. I think what I try and do is I do a lot of my day-to-day training in the gym. So I'll put it on the maximum vert and yeah, just do the best I can whilst I'm in London, and then really make sure that for at least kind of 3 or 4 weekends, I'm out there doing the real thing, which needs to be trails, it needs to be mountains, and do the real thing for a couple of days with a pack and make sure it's over a couple of days so that my body's used to the long runs back to back.
I suppose one thing you wouldn't have been doing is heat adaptation training for Scotland at that time of year. That would have been a bit of a shock to the system.
It was horrible. Yeah. So I've learned to. I did the Namib Desert. That was the first one I did, as you guys know, and that was the best learning curve because I did no heat training and I didn't know what I was doing. And ultimately, I look back now, and with that type of event, you just have to train for for the conditions and the climate. In this, it was, to your point, completely unexpected that it was so warm. So I did no heat training and I felt it.
And
What would sorry,
sorry,
Stephen.
John. No, I was just a way to pick up something that Ben said around about going to the gym, doing much of your training in the gym just because of your circumstances, and whacking the treadmill up to maximum vert in the gym, and everybody's looking at you strangely going, what in the hell is he doing? But it just shows what the point I was trying to make is it shows to go that you find a way, whatever. You can find an excuse or you can find a way. Yeah, and it's about that. It's about, okay, this is the tools that I've got. This is what I've got at my disposal at the moment. So how am I going to make best use of it that's going to give me an edge on race day? It sounds like that's what John and yourself, I'm assuming Ben, is having to get creative about. Sorry, John, just wanted to make that point.
No, it's a great point. And I think it's good learning for anybody that's entering an event. Right away, I'm thinking about Stu Johnson. I always think about that.
You do? I think about Stuart a lot.
Yeah, because he passed on a lot of really good golden nuggets to people. Simple things. He was doing sauna training. Stuart won the West Highland Way race. It was a hot year. A lot of people were really struggling with it. Stuart didn't struggle. He'd managed it. He'd prepared. And he was saying you can find a way, which is what you're saying there. Like hill reps up Mount Snowdon. Come on, man. 3,500 feet 3 times in one day. It's not easy terrain doing that either. So, but you've got to do that if you want to be at that sharp edge. So listen, there's 3 stages, which means there's 3 mornings, 3 nights, there's 3 days across all of that. Is there any memorable moments / incidents that stick in your head?
Yeah, there's a lot that sticks out. I think the big one is the finish, and it was actually not my finish. It was Becky's finish, my girlfriend, and seeing her finish her first ultramarathon, that was amazing. There was one, I think, particular moment that I found pretty inspirational as well. And I think the thing that I love about these events is, it's the nature, and it's getting out to remote places. And it's also the people. So they're always pretty small events. This one, memory was 50 or 60 people, something like that. And you get to know a lot of people, and you get to know their stories and their backgrounds. And there's one particular runner who goes by the name of Baggy, I believe that's her nickname. I believe her surname is Bagshaw, I'm going to say. But she was really strong for the 3 days, and she got halfway through the final stage, and there was a big, long downhill section that was very technical, very easy to lose your footing. And she did that, and unfortunately, I think she put her foot into a hole where there was a bog, and she broke her ankle, which was incredibly unfortunate. And she was looking very strong to finish, really well. And she was running with a group of guys at the time. She told them to go ahead because she was going to finish the race not finish the race. She was going to drop out and DNF. And of course, as soon as they had left, she decided to carry on. And she basically hobbled about 20 kilometers, I believe. Took her a good 5 or 6 hours down a mountain, but she did it. And that is the type of thing that I love about these events, that people really push themselves beyond their limits. And very inspirational thing.
Crazy bastards. Crazy bastards. Yeah, well done, Baggy. Well done, Baggy. Make yourself known to us. We'd like to know all about that. Absolutely phenomenal.
Bagshaw. Okay.
That's correct. Olivia Bagshaw, a very nice person as well.
We've got your card marked, Olivia.
Brilliant. And you mentioned a highlight was Becky finishing and seeing that. Maybe that's the reason that you won it. So you were there to see Becky coming over the line, which is a lovely thing to do. Very romantic thing to do. But describe what that was like, because you said it was Becky's first ultra. To take on something like this is quite extraordinary. Well, to be trained for 5-10 years and do it is quite extraordinary. But your first ultra to do that. So say a bit about Becky.
Yeah, it was. I mean, she's a very good runner. First of all, she's not the most consistent of trainers, so her training was mixed, and neither of us were really sure how she was going to do in the event. And it was honestly far more difficult for me to watch her do the run than it is for me, if that makes sense. Like when you're in pain yourself, you can manage that, but when you see someone else suffering, it's quite difficult. So I lent her my backpack, which I used in the Namib Desert, and of course it's a man's backpack. We'd use it on training runs, but for whatever reason, in the conditions in the Highlands, it was much worse. So she had lots of cuts from that, which were really difficult, and she really struggled with the pain from that. And yeah, she had quite a few tough moments, so it was quite difficult to see her in pain at times, but also amazing to see her finish. And every day when she crossed the line, I felt far more emotional and far more emotionally connected than doing the event myself. So I think overall it was incredibly wonderful, actually, just to see her enjoy it. You know, she wants to do more in the future. Actually, when it came to the finish line, I finished the event and then I ran back out onto the course to try and run in with her. And I stayed by this gate, which must have been a couple of kilometers from the finish line. And I saw her coming after waiting for, I don't know, it was quite a while. It was at least an hour and a half or something. And I opened the gate and she literally ran straight past me, waved at me, and then sprinted down this hill. And I couldn't catch her for about 5 minutes, which I was quite annoyed about at the time because I've been waiting, getting eaten by midges for a good amount of time. And yeah, she ran off.
You can tell the joy in your face talking about it, what it means to you, which is absolutely phenomenal and really, really a lovely thing to have shared. I've got a question though about the night time, because you're there to win this thing and Becky's there, and you obviously care about Becky, so you want to make sure she was all right. Was there check-in time at night, or were you just making sure she's over the line and say, okay, see you in the morning? Because you're you know what I mean? What was because you've got to be focused to do what you're wanting to do, you know? How was that?
I see your point, John. It was, I think, less conflicting than that. So I just wanted her to be okay. So I went into, I don't know, caring mode. I was more focused on making sure that she was okay. So I was probably being a bit annoying, to be honest. So I was asking her if she wanted any food or any drinks and that type of thing. And I mean, I had loads of time to recover in camp anyway, so I wasn't compromising on my race. But yeah, I think it was really nice to actually to be able to focus on her rather than, let's be clear, some of the boring stuff that I'd be doing, like stretching for too long or thinking about my race plan for the next day. So it was a welcome distraction, I would say.
Cool.
I've got a quick question. Now, beyond the ultimate, I don't think that this is a race that's been hugely ever on my radar. Okay, and then John says, "Oh, you see, Ben was back in touch. We're going to get him on." I was like, "What's it been up to?" And John explained it. That wasn't hugely on my radar, and I don't think it's particularly well known in Scotland. John, would you agree with that?
I'm not sure if this is the first time it's been run though. This actual event, the Highland Ultra. The first time I heard it got mentioned was a friend of Ben's and ours, Lindsay, who was over in the jungle. She had mentioned it to me. That was the first I'd heard about it. But was this the first year, Ben, or has it happened before?
It's happened. I don't know how many years now, but I'm going to say at least 4. It's reasonably new.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the inaugural event.
Yeah, and it's happening again end of April next year, 2026. And you know, I was looking at it in our thorough research. I was looking at it at the same time we were speaking. Right, and I was like, there's a 3-day multi-stage event in Scotland that's maybe, do you know, a lot of people aspire to do Cape Wrath, which is over, is there 6 running days? 8 running days?
8 days.
Yeah.
John Shield finished second this year, by the way, my coach. Just a shout out to John. Yeah.
Yeah, you got John's number. But it's almost like, to me, and it's a similar time of year, as well, if similar challenging terrain, which Cape Wrath, and it's just one that's no huge on my radar. And then I look down the finishers list, and there's a lot of what sounds to me like international names on it, like more so than John done an ultramarathon last week, and it was the Cataran Trail. Sorry, last month I meant to say, John. Well, we have done it. Right, that was covered in our last episode. And I could almost name everybody on the start line at that. Yeah. Whereas the beyond the ultimate event and the way that it's staged, and you've got the camping experience and the sort of race management and things like that, it's a whole new door that could be opened, I think. I'm not doing a PR marketing stunt here for Beyond the Ultimate, but it's just, it seems quite, and I know their events are quite small scale in terms of numbers, and you know these, well, international sounding names. They've maybe just got exotic sounding names and for Liverpool and Manchester and things, I don't know. But there just seems to be a different slant there. Is that an observation that's fair?
I think so. Yeah, it's very different. It's very similar to Cape Wrath in terms of the terrain, to your point. I think a lot of I believe at least one of the stages it covers the same terrain, right? Obviously it's a lot shorter, and you're right. I think the maybe the clientele, if you will, is probably more people after venture with Beyond the Ultimate. So it's it's definitely not the same elite field, I would say. I mean, you look at Cape Wrath, and to your point, I think the guy that won it this year, I think he's the course record holder anyway. He used to run for Team GB, I believe, in ultra running. So incredibly high standard. And BTUs, for me, it's all the things I love is the sense of adventure, the kind of community spirit that you get from that. Meeting interesting people. So for me, it's really interesting that a lot of people haven't heard of it. And I would say it's the perfect starter, right? If you want to do Cape Wrath, then do this first, and then do Cape Wrath the following year, which I might do myself.
Or in that way, but that's exactly it. It's that experience of a multi-day event where you've got that, you're carrying your own kit. Your race management has to be well prepped for, despite the relative shortness in comparison to Cape Wrath. And I say relative shortness because it's, in the grand scheme of things, no short. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's the perfect sort of like trial run, prep race. Am I going to like this? Is my body going to like this? Am I going to make new connections that I'll, you know how that is, eh? Then you get the infection. Oh, I'm doing this next year. Oh, what's that one? Before you know it, you're booking flights to, well, Ben, we know where you've been. So no, I think that was it. It was just more an observation. The unusual, unfamiliar names on the start list and the finishers list. That for yourself, Ben, and Becca. John, do you fancy it?
No. No, I do. I fancy everything, though. I fancy everything.
I think it would be up your street.
But I get that, and I think it's been good to clarify, because I hadn't, and you initially started this wee section, Stephen, by saying it wasn't really on our radar, and that wasn't until Lindsay had mentioned it to me. That was the first time I heard about it.
And I mean, we know everything, Ben. Right?
Especially in this neck of the woods. Aye. I was hate contact Beyond the Ultimate and say, you never run this past us, by the way. But
I didn't get a license for it.
Anyway, but I do agree that it's a stepping stone to something like Cape Wrath. It's a good way of preparation for that. And also, you mentioned about these exotic names, Stephen, but it just brings to the focus as well, running tourism is a thing.
Yep.
Ben's experienced that the other way, going abroad to different things. We recently spoke to Tanya, who was doing all the races across all the deserts. That was the thing she was doing, to go and visit these wonderful places. So it's definitely something that is open to people. And for people that come to Scotland, it's brilliant. I think you said, Ben, there was maybe 50, 60 people on the start line, but maybe they want to keep it to no more than 80, for that intimate side of things.
Boutique, almost more personal experience where you're no just a person in a process. You're a human being who they can connect with, and you can connect with others in that environment. It almost starts by the end of it. You've maybe made some new pals, you've maybe made some lifelong friends, or somebody you bump into a couple of years later and say, I remember we shared that experience.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And to be really clear, I wouldn't be doing events like Marathon des Sables is my day of hell. Right? I would. I'm never going to do that. And Beyond the Ultimate, I think, is that example where it is about community and getting to know people and sharing experiences. And a lot of people, they're not there for a win, right? It's not necessarily just about competition. For many of them, it's not at all. So, and I like that. Right? I want to be in a place where people want to get to know each other, and to your point, maybe make friends and then keep in touch. And there's something really powerful about that.
And it sounds like, well, I would imagine it's not everybody's idea of a romantic weekend away, but I'd imagine Paris or Rome were expensive at that time of year. So let's take my girlfriend up to wonderful Knoydart, and there you go. Yeah, it's that shared memory now that you've got there is really important. And that, well, I think John said you could see it when you're talking in your face, Ben. That's a big important part of it. Yeah, you've performed really well yourself and you've took the win, but actually I don't know if that is the be all and end all. Maybe I'm wrong, Ben, but there's deeper stuff going on there, I reckon.
100%. Yeah, I like trying to do my best, and I like training hard and seeing what I can achieve, but it's absolutely secondary to having experiences, right? And I genuinely think, like, for me, this whole experience of ultra running has been far deeper than trying to get some medals. It's not really about that.
Can I ask a very practical question? What shoes were you wearing? Was it the same shoes every day?
It was the same shoe. I think in the last podcast, you guys asked me about my shoes, and I gave a really vague answer because I don't really think about them. I think they were the same shoes as I wore in the Jungle Ultra in Peru, and they were falling apart. So I couldn't even tell you what brand they are anymore because they were that smashed.
I think I remember it was like Saucony or something, maybe. Saucony.
Yes.
Peregrines or something. Yeah.
It was the Peregrines, yeah, for sure.
Don't ask me when the kids' birthdays are. Don't ask me anything much about anything important. Ask me what somebody had on their feet in a certain race. I've got this uncanny knack. Pretty grim, by the way, Ben. But anyway, there'll hopefully be a use for it at some point in my lifetime. I do just something went off in the back of my brain there. I'm sure it was Saucony Peregrine 17s. In fact, let me
Season
check.
11, episode 9.
That's why I'm called a schwanker.
But did they serve you well? Did they do what they needed to do? Were you comfy? How were your feet?
Absolutely perfect. I mean, they're pretty good shoes, I'd say. They've survived 8 days of ultra running in pretty extreme places, and all of my trail running for the past, I don't know, probably 18 months. So God knows how many miles they've done. It's quite a few miles.
Feet. This time of year, there's a lot of people going to we're in the season of long distance races, right into the middle of all this. sort of stuff. How do you prepare your feet, and what's your admin at night for your feet? Do you do anything special, Ben?
Yeah, I think we talked about Gurney Goo last time we did the pod. So I used the Gurney Goo again, and it was great. So I think any watery conditions, I try and use some kind of barrier just to make sure that the water doesn't get in the same way. I also tend to use certain types of socks. I like toe socks. I think they're, for me, better when it comes to not getting too many blisters. And I think the main thing is once I'm done for the day, I try and air my feet. So for my sins, I like wearing Crocs, which is an embarrassment to most people that I know. But I love them. So I find that it gets air to my feet, and feel pretty good after that.
That was something.
Team Crocs.
I wear Jesus sandals.
Adidas Bethlehems.
Adidas Bethlehems, yeah. The Lucy Gossage won the Spine this year, and she spoke about airing her feet as well, getting air in, and regardless of taking the time pressure away from checkpoints and stuff, I'm having 20 minutes or however long it was, but air on my feet and just letting that nature do its thing. Really, really important. Yeah, thank you. I think it's something that, well, anybody that runs, they've got to look after their feet, haven't they, to make sure that they can go the long distances. So thank you. We're way off the question set, by the way.
I'm going to take us from one staple question to another staple question. How was the scran? How were you fed up? Was there decent options on camp?
No, so it's self-supported.
You didn't get any food?
Zero options. Yeah.
Shit, count me out. Okay, so you are carrying everything that you need self-sufficiently for the 3 days?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So is it what you're tucking into of an evening to replenish the calories?
Expedition meals, really. So I use a company called Firepot, which I think they're pretty good, but it's not the type of thing that you're gonna love, right? It has lots of calories and it does the job. It's light, so you can carry it easily. But no, you're really looking forward to some proper food afterwards as well.
What kind of Firepot? What was your flavour you were eating?
Well, I'm a vegetarian. I think I had the chili no con carne, I think it's called, something like that. And there was a posh baked beans that was fine as well. Yeah. And also bolognese, that was my favourite actually.
Orzo bolognese.
Was it a Firepot thing? Orzo bot. I could rattle that. Like I would like that.
It's indeed a Firepot. Yeah,
I could rattle that.
How? Sorry, I'm going to ask.
I'm still on food.
Yeah. How many calories is in one of these things?
In each pack, I think you're looking at up to 800 calories, and there's a big checklist of stuff you need to bring. On calories, it's a minimum of 2,000 a day that you may bring with you.
So what was the other 1,200?
Mainly, I had noodles for breakfast, and after that, it was just having trail bars. So I think I was on like 2,200 a day, so pretty much the minimum. But I think some people were doing 3,500 calories.
Too many questions. Stephen, you got food questions?
It's the post-food questions, the important ones.
Well, right. So let me ask mine then. You can come back to that. Did you have to carry that with you every day, or did stuff get transferred to camp, but with your name on it?
You have to carry everything yourself for these events. So that's one of the, I guess, the quirks of the Beyond the Ultimate multi-stages. I think it's similar to Marathon des Sables, actually. It's a similar format where you carry everything yourself and it's self-supported. Again, I think the amount of things you bring depends on your race strategy and what you're trying to do. So a lot of people brought a lot more calories, a lot more warm clothing, all that type of thing. Whereas I tried to go light, which meant being hungry quite a lot of the time and a bit colder at times as well.
Did you ever feel empty, like not had enough to eat?
It was like Oh,
I did, yeah, quite a lot of the time. I felt a little bit hungry, but for 3 days, you can just about get away with it.
Fair play, man. That's a challenge. I'm really interested to know about Becky's take on this, because what I'm asking is, this is your first ultramarathon. What lessons do you learn from that side of things about nutrition and carrying stuff and what you need and what you don't need? Because you're bound to have looked at other people and go, that's a schoolboy error right there. Because you've done a number of these events, Ben, haven't you? But I'll leave that just now. Stephen, you come back with your food. I'm aware
well,
of time.
no, it was mere just once you've had your fill of fire pots and you've crossed the finish line and you're in Scotland, did you enjoy anything new for the post-race fulfillment?
Yeah, there was. So we were lucky that as soon as the race finished, there was a lot of free food. So what did we have? I think it was. I think it might have been chili con carne actually. That we had almost immediately afterwards when we finished the event. And then there's food in the pub that evening as well, in Inverary. I believe it's the most remote pub in the UK. That's what I hear.
Is it?
Yeah, and there was a folk band playing, and it had the view of the coast. It was amazing.
And it was that warm spell that we had, wasn't it? Like the one you say, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. That was our summer. It was indeed. So I can imagine that being quite, yes, like just how you imagined it in your head.
Right.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Blessed to get weather, although you say we had a mix of weather, but to get nice, clear weather in Scotland at that time of year, it is a bit of a luxury. Although not everybody's running 78 miles on that sort of terrain on it. Can I go back to season 11, episode 9, Ben? You spoke very deeply and fondly of your friend Julian, and how Julian's influenced your running journey. Do you want to say it for people who haven't listened to season 11, episode 9, which they'll now all be lining up and queuing into their players? What do you say a bit about Julian?
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up, because it's definitely the reason I do ultra running is because of Julian. And actually so he unfortunately passed away. I think it was Christmas Eve 2018, and he was a fantastic runner. He got me my first job in my industry. So I work in video games. I think it was 2008 when I started in video games, and he was my line manager. And then he got me into running. On my first run, I was wearing Converse, and I couldn't do 5 kilometer runs. And then a couple of years later, we did the London Marathon together, and it all kind of started there. And then he died very suddenly. So he had a heart defect, and he passed away very suddenly on Christmas Eve. And it was hugely profound for me, to be honest, because it was so unexpected. And he was a fantastic athlete, a very fit guy, very healthy person. He was about 40 at the time. I think he was 39, so a young guy. And it really gave me a lot of perspective. And from his death, I wanted to do something in his memory. And the idea of doing the Desert Ultra, which was 250 kilometers in the Namib Desert, that just struck a chord, and it felt like the right thing to do. And from there, I did pretty badly in that event. It was awful, and I didn't do any heat training, and I just about managed to finish it. Couldn't walk for a week afterwards. I was in the airport, and they put me in a wheelchair to get me onto the flight because my legs were that ruined. But it was all for Julian, and because of him, that got me into the first event and the second, and it's given me a lot of perspective on what's important in life. So the whole notion of adventure and meeting good people and trying to make the most of things.
And what a motivation to have within you as well, to have a friend that you spoke very, as I say, dearly about in the previous episode that we had, but it's still there. That fire never goes away, does it? The fire that Julian brings to you and inspiring you on. So thank you again for speaking so openly about your dear friend. I love that. What advice, and you may be giving advice to somebody who did their first ultramarathon, actually have practically done that. But anybody, Stephen's mentioned about, there'll be a few folk, I think, when Stephen was talking about this 3-day event, taking part up in the Hebrides of Scotland, going, oh, maybe I could do that. Anybody finishing maybe their first ultra this year or something might start thinking about something like this sort of multi-day event. But for doing somebody's first ultra marathon, what advice would you give to people? What advice did you give to Becky?
I think it's very simple. Just sign up. I think the most important step is making the decision that you're going to commit to it. And I think ultra running for me it's not like a road marathon where everyone talks about their splits and their time and all of that stuff. I think it's more about the experience. So I genuinely think that if you've got the patience and some reasonable training, but I think if you can manage a half marathon, then you can do an ultra. You just do it slowly and with patience and a bit of pain. But I think the main thing is making the decision that you're going to do it and then committing to it.
You hear that, John? If you can do a half marathon, you can do an ultra marathon. And I think that's really powerful words, Ben, because I agree with you. And it's sometimes people put it beyond them or beyond their capabilities. I'd never ever be able to do that. But you're right. I think there's something in that. If you can do a half, then just keep on moving at a whatever pace you want. Nobody's going to judge you by, oh, I finished an ultramarathon in insert hours. Everybody's just like, fantastic, you finished an ultramarathon. No time pressures.
No, because folk have not got a Scooby-Doo what an ultramarathon is, most people.
No, that's what's the fantastic thing about it.
Yeah, they've no idea. And I like that. I like that when somebody says, I can't do that. Put yet on the end of that sentence. I can't do that yet. And then prepare, do the training, get that done, or do most of the training, right? Because we're all human and we all fall a wee bit at times, but you get back on the bike and you get going. And it's about taking it rather than putting negativity in the way of possible fantastic achievements. Burst through them and say, right, let's get this training done. How much do I want this? I think that again, there's got to be that desire to do that. And it sounds like Becky's done it. Can I ask her, what's Becky going to do next?
It's a good question, isn't it? We're going to do the next event together. So what that will be in terms of the bigger stuff, I don't know yet. We're looking at an event in Kenya. So there's one more beyond the ultimate event called For the Rangers, which for me looks like the best event ever. I think I might have mentioned in the last podcast. But
has every one though looked like the best event ever? This one.
This is definitely the one. So imagine a running safari. I mean, it's literally the dream. So yeah, it's and the idea is that you've got all of the park rangers making sure that you're alive. Obviously, no animals can eat you, and there are hundreds of park rangers throughout the course, and you go right through all these different nature reserves. And as I understand it, you get to see every different type of African animal you can. So it sounds amazing to me, at least.
Jesus, man. My heart's going like that, even thinking about that. Running free through the body. Oh, Stephen.
Oh, just I'd like. I think I've spoken to somebody, or we've had somebody on who's done it. John, that Rangers Ultra. I'm sure. John loves Rangers Ultra. So I'm sure he'd love that one. He does.
Yeah. I'm okay with the Rangers. Yeah.
He's a big fan of Rangers Ultras, so I think he would like that one. John, you were on safari recently. You've always done your You've almost done your training.
But there was
Ben,
only
you needing
one.
company.
There was only one. There was only one ranger with us. He was in the front. We were in a buggy. We weren't running anywhere.
Man,
But
that would
an
be
amazing country, though. Well, continent, Africa, amazing place, wonderful place, and I can imagine to do that with Becky would be quite brilliant,
we
wouldn't
had
it? So,
the lad Ben who won the 100k event at the Anglo Celtic Plate, which is round a racetrack in Leicestershire. John, what's his name? It's right.
Henry Hart.
Henry Hart. Yeah, recently, and he'd been over at a training camp in Kenya, a different part of it, doing the ITAN, round where all the runners hang out, and stuff. I'm assuming it would be in a different part of Kenya than that, but it sounded stunning as well. Two reasons to go to Kenya now, John.
Yes, most definitely. Kit. We spoke about shoes.
We've done shoes, done food.
Yep.
Kit.
But kit, as in, if it was me, I would take one set of kit because you want to be light on your feet, right? You don't want to be carrying loads of stuff. Did you wash out and use the same kit every day, or what was the story? What was your kit? And is it tried and tested stuff you've used before? What have you added to the Ben Harrison kit bag since season 11, episode 9?
I seen something that you'd added, some headwear. Pain Cave.
Yes.
Pain Cave. The Pain Cave headwear. Sorry, I jumped in there. That was so rude. Apologies. It just clocked in my memory there that I was saying a wee review of Ben's Instagram like that. Nice headwear there, Ben.
Well, actually, yeah, it's a very good spot, that, Stephen. So this is in no way a plug, but John Shields, I believe that is his brand, the Pain Cave. So that was a freebie for the coaching, and yeah,
right.
There you go, Pain Cave.
Okay.
John will be very happy with that plug.
It's all right.
Yeah. That aside,
we're romancing John here a wee bit. You realise? That aside, on you go, Ben. Apologies for my rude interruption.
Not at all. There wasn't much else that was new for me. It was all tried and tested. I did basically have one set of kit, and the main thing was to have waterproof. So I did invest in a good set of trousers, waterproof trousers for this event. But yeah, it was all stuff that I use pretty much on a daily or weekly basis. I tried to get light, so I had one running t-shirt and then a mid layer and a good waterproof, and that was pretty much it, apart from the Pain Cave hat, of course.
Very fetching.
Waterproof trousers. What brand? And did they do the job?
They did. Oh, I'm really sorry, guys. I don't remember the name now. It was a very good running brand. I don't even remember.
That's okay. That's cool, man. and did you have at night? Did you have to carry a wee mattress and stuff, or was that there for you? Was the beds there for you to lie on? Did you have to carry camping stuff?
Yeah. So the only thing that they provide in this event is a tent. So you need to bring your own sleeping bag. But thankfully, the tent is put up for you, because I'm terrible at that type of thing.
Okay. And how good was your management of kilograms, or is it grams we're talking about? You'd be at gram level, won't you? You're minimal. So backpack, did you have to buy a new backpack, or is that one that's been all around the world with you? How good were you at that management of that?
So my backpack is I think they're called Ultimate Direction, I'm going to say, but it's lasted all the events I've done in ultras, which is amazing. So it's the same backpack I bought probably about 5 years ago now, and they're very, very simple backpacks. So there's basically one big compartment. I think it's about 20 liters from memory. And yeah, it does the job. So I've had that for a long time, and my pack was incredibly light. So yeah, it was all, I think I've worked out over the years that if you want to be competitive in this type of event, then those details, they do matter. So making sure, for example, your heavier items are your sleeping bag, and also your food. If food is the main one. From memory, my pack was just shy of 6 kilos, which is very, very light. I think most people would have been doing more like 10, and there are a couple of people that were doing at least double what my pack was.
And that's a lot over the course of 78 miles, isn't it? If you're carrying that. You know what? It astounds me what you're talking about. Steve and I have done like Lakeland 50, and then the Friday night before it started, we've got Ziploc bags and we're rolling up stuff and we're vacuum packing it with our mouth. That's the sort of things that we were doing, right? We make things as light as we can. But it was me. I was doing that. And then, but you're running, and I'm going, God, this is bloody heavy, right? And I'm sure it was a 20-litre backpack I had, and it was stamped through because with all this
Honestly,
stuff.
I don't know about this boy sometimes, Ben.
But to do a multi-day event and carry all that stuff in there, so it's just how you learn. But I think you learn from it, from doing it and partaking in these events, and you're always, the good gear is quite expensive as well. Sorry, Stephen.
The word that you're looking for is optimize, I think.
Well, that's the word you're using. That's the word you're using.
But what Ben's done is optimized his contents of his bag.
Yeah.
What you got in your bag.
And where I'm going with that is how important it is to manage that side of stuff. Then you be carrying things that you don't need, prioritize it. And a lot of people will go back to an event or a future event and will have learned so much from that very first time. So if anybody's listening in and thinking about how they manage their kit, listen to what Ben has said. Really importantly, go as light as you can. You know, there'll still be people like me that go bursting at the seams, you know, and
with 2 Lidl's bags.
And didn't use anything out of the backpack. Didn't even touch it, you know. So sorry, went on a wee rant.
Overcompensating for the challenge ahead. Optimize. I rest my case. Ben didn't even hit a speaker, didn't he?
That was just me hitting a rant.
Just listening to you guys, yeah.
It's okay. You know the crack round here.
It's been a while since we've been together, Stephen, so we've got to use this time as best we can.
That's true. Now, John touched on this a little bit, and you were speaking about Kenya. Have you got anything booked in now?
No, I don't, and I'm starting to look into what's next, but I tend to only do 1 or 2 events a year, and that's because life gets in the way, and I struggle to find the time to train properly. So whether it'll be something this year, I don't know yet. Hopefully I'll do something in the next 4 or 5 months, but I haven't booked anything yet.
But that can be it can be quite a nice feeling as well when you've not got that overhead of, okay, if I don't train, I'm going to feel a bit negative about myself. It can be sometimes nice to have that breathing space. I'm talking from personal circumstance just now.
Yeah, I find it quite stressful having lots of events, and for me, training is not fun. So I love running, I love being outside, but the idea of actual hardcore training where I've got to do, intervals or hill reps and all that stuff, I only do it when I have to. So that's why I'll book in, kind of 3.5, 4 month block, and I'll do that properly. But the rest of the time, I just want to go nice, easy runs and, do fun stuff rather than be focused on performance.
We should have asked before this point, how has your recovery been since Beyond the Ultimate Highland Ultra? How are you?
This one, it was only 3 days. So I'll be honest, I felt fine straight away. I think it's more the mental fatigue of training for 4 months. So I think that's the bit that gets me, where I have this high after an event like that, where it feels amazing to have had the experience and then get back into real life again. So back into the office and, the day-to-day grind, and it's the mental come down that's the tricky bit.
Brilliant. And we should say, just to wrap this up, that you completed in an overall time of 16 hours and 47 minutes, which was, let me do my maths here, 35 minutes ahead of second place, Christian Valentine. Were you and Christian aware of each other in that last few hours?
I don't think we were, actually, because the final day, I think you'll know better than me with the stats, and I think it was only 3 hours. I think the final stage, so it felt more comfortable than maybe the numbers suggest there. And I felt very, very confident on the final day.
And you were saying the end was going down, so you're not looking behind you, you're just getting tore in. Yeah?
Just enjoying it, yeah, because it was a massive downhill straight for at least, I don't know, 3 or 4 kilometers. So it was a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Well done, man. Honestly, phenomenal win. To do that, you must be really chuffed, because I think I said, we never asked you, but I had assumed you went in to win. So to achieve that is brilliant, and to have that last day, 3 hours and 5 minutes, that's flying, man. Absolutely flying. Brilliant. Right, Stephen, we're going to open up that dictionary.
Hopefully you've had a chance to consider another entry into our dialect dictionary, Ben. Then disappoint us. You've been up in Scotland.
I have to disappoint and not give you a Scottish word, which
all right.
I've really missed a trick there, haven't I? Yeah. So actually, I did some prep on this, and I'm from Pembrokeshire, as you guys know, and one of my favourite Pembrokeshire phrases is "now in a minute." I don't know if you ever heard that before. It basically means sometime later. So when you say "now in a minute," it means it's probably not going to happen for a good amount of time, and it just reminds me of being back home, which is a lot of people quite relaxed, going surfing, and much slower pace than London.
Brilliant. Now in a minute, I'm going to use that.
I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it tonight. Probably 5 minutes after we finish this conversation, to be honest. Sometimes feel like that with some of my training runs as well. Procrastination. Okay, now in a minute.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. Thank you. And then, I don't know, you can answer this as well. I don't know if you listen to music when you're running, when you're doing these adventure multi-day stage races, but their last question is about another opportunity to add a song into the Young Hearts Run Free playlist, Ben. What would you like to share with the Young Hearts Run Free listeners?
I would love to share some. I'm really into 70s rock when I run. So if I can, if it hasn't been used yet, I would go for Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin.
I think that might be the first Led Zeppelin song on the playlist. Any playlist.
It's a crime right there.
There you go. And you just fixed it. We were just waiting for you to go to Knoydart to do that Highland Ultra. What a tune, man. What a tune that is. Brilliant.
I don't know it, so I know, but that's great, because I've got now new music to listen to, because I know how it is. There's hundreds of music.
I think you know it, Stephen.
Yeah.
I love when these wee musical doors open, though, and it takes you down somewhere, and then you go, oh, listen to this. So it's the joy of music. So thank you very much for sharing that, Ben. And Stephen, you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
I know, and I've made myself sound like some kind of musical, what do you call it? A musical, somebody who doesn't care much about music.
But listen, if somebody says to you in your house when they're finished doing this, can you say, Stephen, come and do this, just say now, in a minute, because I'm listening to this song.
That's fair dues. Okay, anyway, it's added to the playlist, the Young Hearts. What is it? What was playlist number are we on? We're getting on to
9, I think.
Playlist 9, Buff Volume 9. It's added added, so people
Might
will
even
get
be
that
10. I don't know.
in
Doesn't
their
matter. Ben, absolutely fantastic to catch up with you again. People won't know about the pre-show antics that we had. We'll just keep that under wraps. That's absolutely cool.
What pre-show antics?
Well, that'll be in the Patreon content. That's in there, right? So
$10 a month subscription. Links in.
But thank you very much for your time. Really, really appreciate it, and your patience with us getting this together as well, which has been absolutely brilliant. Congratulations again to you. Congratulations to Becky as well. And if it is that Kenyan adventure with the Rangers, we'd love for you both to come back and tell us about that as well. That would be brilliant. I'm going to hand over to Stephen for
I've got
cheerio,
one final question for you, Ben, and it's just a thought that I've had whilst we've been speaking. You're in the video game industry, right? Is there a video game yet to be made of a multi-stage ultramarathon adventurer and all the management and everything that could go wrong or right for that said? It's maybe not going to be up there as a big seller, but it could be quite a niche hit. So if you could propose that at your weekly stand-up or whatever agile way of working that you've probably got in your office, that would be great, and just let us know how it goes down.
I'll see what I can do.
Ever since you went to Japan and went about the streets of Tokyo as a Mario character, he's been after this opportunity to talk about that kind of stuff. That's a different episode.
There's something there. I can see it. Whether it's an app or a video game, I'm not sure, but there's something there. I'll leave you on that. Ben, awesome to speak to you again. Really enjoyed our chat as I did last time. So yeah, good luck for everything that you've got coming up ahead, but it's just been great to reconnect with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Absolute pleasure.